So hello, we're looking here at mindstorm, and this is just a very quick and superficial overview of how we would start building programs here. And so the first thing that you want to do is click on this plus sign on the top left corner, and that is going to allow you to create a project, I believe. Okay, there we go. Took a little while, but yeah, so now we have this project. If any of you guys have ever played around with Scratch, this is kind of the same setup, because in Scratch we had a green flag, and here we have this play button, right? And so you can kind of think about this play button being the play button that you press on your robot. So we're going to build our program here. We're going to connect our robot via USB. This is going to say connecting. Eventually it's going to connect, and then you can download it onto your EV3. Right? Once it's downloaded onto the EV3, you're going to unconnect the robot and put it on the floor or put it on your map and press the play button. And ideally, it will play the program that you just downloaded onto the robot. Okay, so so then down here at the bottom, we have different programming blocks, and if you hover over this one, the greens are all the actions that you can do with the robot. Here's the control flow, meaning the loops and branches, and the breaking of the loops. And this guy here is a wait. Yeah, so if you want to wait, you can do that. So this is just like the control flow of the code. And this one here is the sensors. So if you ever want to use any of these guys, like the color sensor, infrared sensor, or the rotation or touch sensors, you can pull these guys out. And then over here we have data operations. So these would do the math for you. So if you did want to get really mathematical with it and take the circumference of the wheel and make a calculation to determine how far down you want your robot to travel and how many rotations of the tire that would take, you would want to use these different blocks here. But from what I've heard, this is not required very much. Okay, so you can kind of erase the red from your mind and just pretend it's not here. Okay, and then we have the blue, which is the advanced, and I think all of these as well. Yeah, all of these we don't need to really use very much. You might need to stop program, but that's about it. Okay, so you can ignore the red, ignore the blue. And then this one here is where you're making your own block. So let's say you had a block that was move forward 3 feet, turn it around, make a circle, and come back, right? You would build all of those blocks here, and then you would create a block here that would contain that code that would be called move forward, make a circle, and come back. Right, so then you can build groups of coding blocks and make it function, if you're familiar with that word, that you can reuse in your code over and over and over again, so you don't have to keep rebuilding that series of instructions. So when you're building your code, you basically just need the green, the orange, and the yellow. And I guess the first thing you want to do is move around. So we're going to go over here. This is the large motor. This is the medium motor. These are different motors you can attach onto the robot. And move and the robot. And yeah, don't confuse these with the motors that move the wheels, right? So this one here are the motors that control the wheels of the robot. So if you want to move them, then we're going to pull that guy out. And here you could say how you want to rotate for a certain amount of seconds, for degrees, for rotations. And most people all have been using degrees, right? Just because it makes the most sense, and it follows what all the kids are learning in algebra. And then over here is the amount of power that you want the tire to use. I believe this is, the power of the left, the power of the right. So if you wanted to rotate in a circle, you would do that, right? Where you have the left tire moving backward, the front tire moving forward, and then the amount of degrees you want to move, right? So if we had this, we plugged in our robot, we downloaded it, we unhooked the robot, and we pressed play, this block of code here would turn it around in a circle in place, right? Like a tank. And then you can kind of just, play around with these different blocks and see all of the different inputs that you can give to make it to make the robot do exactly what it is that you want to do. And when it comes to the power, you got to kind of play around with it. So there's a lot of testing. There's a lot of trial and error involved here. And yeah, supposedly the kids are supposed to have fun with this. So that's mostly what they're going to be doing, is they're going to be trying to figure out how they can use these blocks to get the robot to do what you want it to do. And then the other group of kids who are going to be building the different parts for the robot need to say, okay, well, this is what I'm able to do using these blocks, and with regard to the motors and whatnot. And so how can I build some attachment to the robot that will help me accomplish the tasks, right? So I know that was very superficial, unclear, but I think that's the best that we can do for the moment. So our team still doesn't have a robot built, but once we do, then I might be able to put together some video and share some code and show you exactly what that code does, right?